Welcome, everybody, to this exciting episode and hot button episode of Geek Boots Military Nerds. We here at Geek Boots all like to tell you about the big green weenie and how it likes to continue to fuck us. Just like how you think you're going to get a third Spider-Man movie with Tom Holland in the MCU, and then MCU asks for 50-50.
Oh, too soon.
Too soon.
Suck a fucking dick, motherfucker. Suck a fucking dick.
Motherfucker!
Suck a fucking dick, motherfucker. Suck a fucking dick.
Motherfucker!
I am your host, Tom Cruise. With me is Singledad Life Adventures. We're doing another exciting episode of Between Two Beards. And a lady, because Mayan Goddess is here but not here.
I'm a ghost and an angel. In the corner.
Wait,
Creepily
what?
staring.
An angel?
All I know
Ew.
is if you were going for ghostly, that was like if it was a Disney movie on steroids.
Like Casper the Friendly Ghost, basically.
If Snow White turned into a ghost, that's what just happened. That is the loveliest ghost I've ever heard. Anyway, she is here with us to help with the Twitch stream because she's doing her thing. So she's helping us out a little bit. But the reason why tonight is such a hot button issue is because this all got sparked a little while ago. Just a shout out to Comic Tom 101. They already talked about the subject a little bit, but we want to go a little further in depth with it. Their episode was, there was this topic that had come out. It says the big reason comic shops close, and there was a subscription box that had $817.21 worth of comics that had gone abandoned. They had gotten forgotten. They did not get bought. And with the Sony and Marvel deal that had come up, and then some other stuff kind of circulating with comic books and MCU fanboys, we want to touch base and talk about the fact that, I mean, I think it should be said, I think the MCU and the movies are potentially ruining comic book sales. Well, at least Marvel.
I'm going to take that one a step further when we get to it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And of course, we will talk about the other hot button issue about the trending post right now of She-Hulk and how the comment section is fucking toxic. It is insane. So, to the MCU fanboys, we are going to take our own big green weenies and slide it down your throats with a whole bunch of truth. So get ready. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this. So I firmly believe, maybe not firmly believe, but I definitely can see the logistics of it. Marvel's comic book sales alone have been arguably over the last 10 years been going down. Now, of course, the movies have gone up. So it stands to reason that a lot of comic book shops are sitting here saying that the movies are kind of ruining Marvel. But on top of that, it's been a lot of the structure of the comics and just the neglect of, oh, hey, ladies and gentlemen, I guess this is no longer Two Beards because Jake just finally entered the podcast.
Hey!
We have a J. Hey!
Oh my god!
We have a J4.
We have a J4.
Thank you.
Oh shit! Between two beards and a faceless man.
Wait, no, there. I see him.
I do have a face.
No. If you don't have a beard, you don't have a face. Sorry, baby face.
Mine has her mustache, so she counts.
Yes, but she's not.
You're goddamn right.
Perfect.
I keep wanting to tag you on Wook Wednesday.
Oh god.
Do it. Do it. Oh my god, do it.
We will definitely get pictures. We'll get pictures at Galaxy's Edge with you with Chewie, and then that's just going to be my Wook Wednesday every week.
I got you.
Anyway, back on to the subject. So everything going on with comic books and the movies. So yeah. God, I almost lost track of my thought process just now too. Fuck duck.
Surprise, surprise.
I know, right? Wait, the surprise being the fucking of a duck, or me losing train of thought?
Wait, you
That's why I
think?
said surprise, surprise.
I know, but the surprise is which one? Surprise to
Neither. Neither.
neither. What the fuck?
You are so easy.
I know I am totally. So, comic book sales, they're dropping. I've heard a lot of comic shops come out on swinging and say that one of the reasons why Marvel is losing sales again is the structure of their comic books. This all started when Marvel had their Civil War 2, and it was Captain Marvel versus Iron Man. Now, of course, if you've read the original Civil War storyline, fuck Tony Stark is basically what I will say. Like, and to any of the MCU fanboys, if you'd bothered to read the comics, you would know why. So the storyline in the comic book version of the Civil War is some superheroes that are not Avengers, they're not affiliated with anything, are trying to make bank off of being a superhero, and with that, they have a television show. Well, someone who's not properly trained ends up going nuclear and blows up a small town full of tens of thousands of people, I want to say, that are 100,000, one of the two. So the government says that's not acceptable, that's not okay, we need to rein in, just like how it is in the MCU Civil War. So with that, Tony Stark takes to the forefront and he comes up with a plan. And the plan is essentially just everybody unmasks and they become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D., they become an agent with their powers, and they become a task force. The other flip side, though, is if you say no, you go to a supermax penitentiary prison up on the moon, and you don't get any other say. There's no other choice. So of course, Captain America says a little more than just, you know, if the government is in charge of the superheroes and the masks, who are we going to determine when a villain is a villain and a hero is a hero? He also goes to stand to reason with, you know, why can't we have the opt out? Why is it that I have to go to prison on the moon? This isn't okay. This is not acceptable. So a lot, and Tony Stark in his initiative hires villains, kind of like reducing their sentence if they work for S.H.I.E.L.D. And that's kind of the whole thing of how everything happens. And then there's a big fight in New York and in Manhattan. And Captain America takes a minute after beating the shit out of Tony Stark and realizes that a lot of the guys that are saying, no, we side with Captain America, are very badly injured and near death. And he decides to surrender because a squabble, a conversation that should be handled with just words is getting out of hand. So he submits, and then an assassin shoots him on the steps of the Supreme Court. So that's how the comic book happened. Well, in Civil War II, when they came out with it, there's a character who has he can see potential futures. They're not full blown. They're not. We can't, as Tony Stark says, we can't determine if this is going to happen or not because you can't tell the future. You know, it's kind of like as Doctor Strange said in Endgame, if I tell you what happens, then it won't happen. Captain Marvel wants to recruit this guy under force to find potential threats before they happen. Essentially, she wants to do Minority Report. Tony Stark says, no, that's not okay because this kid has a life and he deserves to have his freedoms. So a whole fight ensues. The problem with this comic book and with Marvel at that time was not only was there the main storyline, you also had to pick up all of the Iron Man comics. You had to pick up all the She-Hulk comics. You had to pick up all these other characters' comic books that were off to the side and not really promoted as well, to understand the next issue that happened in the Marvel Civil War. And that's very true. I read it. Thankfully, in the middle of the comic, they would talk about the events that are happening in each person's life outside of what was in this storyline. But no, you would read one issue, you go to the next issue, and you feel like you just jumped into the future and you have no idea what's going on. And it became problematic. and a lot of people wanted to stop reading Marvel comics. And then, of course, this ties into just as stated, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has caught so much attention, and there are arguably more. There are a lot of people out there claiming to be a Marvel fan, but they're only a fan of the movies. And I'm not saying that's not okay. You can enjoy the hell out of the movies. But when you sit there and you gatekeep somebody, I guess is the phrase, and tell people what's what, and you've never ever read the literature, you need to take a step the fuck back. And a lot of comic book shops are coming out and saying that the toxicity of the MCU fanboys and potentially the movies are ruining comic sales. And if you want to say, no, that's not true, the fact is in the pudding. I know a lot of comic book shops that are saying, yes, Marvel's sales are going down. Caveat being that DC's comic sales are actually rising up regardless of their movies.
Can I make a point on
Go
fan
for it.
toxicity?
Yes, go please.
This is actually something that's going on right now in Dragon Con. I've been seeing it going around, and people are posting about how, I guess yesterday, which was day 0, so everybody was arriving yesterday. Party started last night, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is the actual con. And I think it may even go into Monday. But there was advertising for a Marvel meetup, but they were only allowing 2 of each character. If the cosplay costume was store-bought, they weren't allowed to participate in the photo shoot or anything like that.
Come on.
They were being extreme gatekeepers, and this is at a con, and that's what, and people were advertising this and like, this is the problem. This elitism and this toxicity, and people thinking that they can keep other people out just because they aren't as good a cosplayer or as good a comic book fan. It's horrific. But yes, this happened actually last night at Dragon.
Wow.
So.
Wow.
Yeah, I see J4 getting upset over there.
I'm just thinking,
I'm
how are
not
you going to limit it
upset.
down to 2 Captain Americas? Because there's always Captain Americas. How are you going to limit it down to like 2 Black Widows? Like, how are you going to pick which 2? Like, duke it out, and then whoever like survives
Harley
the battle
Quinns,
royale? Yeah, 2 Harley Quinns, 2 Batmans, 2 Supermans.
Deadpool, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Even
You know,
even like narrowing it down to like 50
okay.
Deadpools, you'd
So-
be in trouble.
To talk about that though, as a huge Deadpool is my main cosplay, I have to admit the one thing that really ticks me off in terms of not only elitism but sadness to the fandom. Everybody has to have the movie suit. That's how people are treating it, and that really pisses me off because I remember when I first grabbed the video game suit and I walked around with my little Deadpool fam before the movie came out. Everyone had something that they were offering to the table, and that's what made us beautiful.
Yeah.
Now, when people walk around in the movie suit, all the cameras, all the people drive towards that. And again, that's fine that you love that. I'm not saying that's bad, but now everyone who cosplays that's not the movie suit, they're getting told, nah, I don't want you. Nah, you're not good enough. And it's like, what the fuck? Thank God I decided to up my game with my video game suit. And then people go, where's your suit from? And I go, I don't know what to tell you.
PlayStation.
PlayStation.
I will say this: there is in the cosplay world this kind of notion that you have to be screen accurate, and it's not fair to the cosplayers who do creative things. I mean, like D23, there was an entire category for Ursula, and there were like 8 different Ursulas. None of them were the same, and they were all spectacular.
Yes.
And so to kind of say like, oh, you have to be exact, it's not fair. It cuts the creativity out of cosplayers.
For me, it really depends on what your intention is. If your intention is to do a screen accurate thing, sweet, awesome. I tried to hand it that. But there was also like details that there was just no fucking way I was going to be able to get. So I kind of had to make workarounds. And guess what? That's cool too. Guess what? If you want to go more creative riff on something that's close to screen accurate, but you want to try something a little different for whatever reason, good for you.
Yeah.
Do your thing.
But that's the whole thing. Is it's cosplay. It's for everyone, and don't judge anybody else unless you are volunteering yourself to be judged in a cosplay contest.
Preach.
It is you do not judge, and nobody has the right to judge you on what you're doing.
And I would also like to note for the record, I'm not sure if anybody's who's going to Dragon Con will ever hear this, but for the future, these motherfuckers don't own the area. Show up anyway.
Yeah.
If they tell you to leave, tell them to go fuck themselves. They don't own the area. You can walk around wherever you please.
That was pretty much the response that I heard was, hey, guess what? This is where they're going to be. Everybody crash. So.
But wow, the toxicity for sure.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, yeah, no. If it's something makes you think of something, feel free.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's definitely an eye opener.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've got Long Beach coming up this weekend. I'll be there, and then we've got then 2 weeks after that we got Cali Love. What up?
Is Mayan an R2D2 unit right now? What the fuck is going on right now? Whoop whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
She's beat booping.
Beep booping. God, stop swearing, Mayan. Fucking Marines.
I'm so lost.
It's okay.
You're on deployment.
Yeah. Anyway, so back onto the topic at hand, though, with comic books. So yeah, for me personally, I think that the movies, to an extent, from my perspective, my experiences, what I've seen, people I've talked to, yeah, I gotta agree. There's some percentage of the fault goes to the movies because there are, again, the comic sales of Marvel are dropping. Anyway,
correlation does not equal causation. Just because that's a very simplistic view. To blame the MCU fanboys for comic book sale decline, you're often looking at completely different clientele. What one group does is not generally should not affect the other.
Funny enough, I'm not blaming the MCU toxic fanboys. I'm actually blaming Marvel Studios. Why? I'll take a fucking shot at them. It's fine. It's whatever. I'm still gonna go see their movies. I still support them. I just have to admit, the comic books. This is what another thing that I loved is when Singledad here said last week, if you want to see Spider-Man, go support your local comic shop. Pick up an Avengers comic where Spider-Man's hanging out with the Avengers, and it's a lot cheaper.
That's debatable.
$20+ to get a ticket to a movie, $5 to pick up a comic book. I'm no math whiz.
How long does that $5 last you?
As many times as you want to read it.
Damn, Skippy.
But that's a different debate.
And then on top of that,
it is.
And then on top of that,
that's
I
can turn that different debate.
If I treat that comic well and I turn it in to get graded, the value of that said comic goes up in price, and I can sell it if I so choose for money. I don't think you can do that with a movie. At least not that I'm aware of right now.
That's a completely different topic.
It is.
But the point is, the point I'm trying to make is Marvel Studios and Marvel Comics, Disney, right?
Right.
Not the same people, though. They work for the same company, but they're not the same people. So to blame this crew for what this crew does,
I feel like I'm not explaining my side very well. I'm simply stating that there's more people going to the movies than there are to the comic shops, and I think it's sad. I'm sad.
I mean, yeah,
I'm not
but like,
angered. I'm sad.
how do you blame the MCU? It's not like they're pulling away
Because America.
sales. If anything, the the actual movie should be bringing in more customers
totally
to the
should. They
comic
totally
books.
should. And
So if
unfortunately,
comic books in Marvel in particular are declining, maybe the blame needs to go on the writing and the production
again,
and
like I
the
explained.
distribution and the advertisement of the comics.
Oh yeah, and like I explained earlier on, the way they're structuring their comics is it's a nightmare. I keep to certain characters and that's it. When they do their individual storylines, when there's something big that happens, I might look into it. Like right now, I'm reading War of the Realms because big news, big spoilers. Thor is back. He's got a brand new hammer and a golden arm sleeve, like a sports sleeve looking thing, and then new helmet and new costume.
It's Thor Winter Soldier.
Yeah, there you go, Thor Winter Soldier, except with the gold arm. Anyway, throw it over to Singledad. I know you have a whole shit ton of things you can say about comic books.
Okay.
Go for it.
So here's where my issue lies. I will say this: neither the MCU nor DC Extended Universe are harming comic shops. They're actually helping bring more people in because people go and see these movies and they're like, "Hey, what's the purpose of this character? Why are they doing this?" They're looking for a backstory. So they actually go in. So it's actually shown there's been a boost to local comic shops and everything like that when a major movie is released. To actually look at the death of comic book stores. Are you good?
He's getting his tea bag ready. He's gonna teabag some truth on this podcast today.
Oh, he hasn't done his tea bag, his traditional tea
I know,
bag.
right?
What's going on?
So.
Continue.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's happening. Okay.
So. There is one reason, and it's kind of multi-layered, so I'll talk a little bit about it. There's one reason and one thing killing the comic book industry in the United States, Canada, and the UK today. Diamond Comic Distributors.
Yes. Oh
Diamond Comic Distributors has a legit monopoly. And I'll say this, and yes, the U.S. government came in and they did a 3-year audit on them. And then they came out and said it's not a monopoly because there are other distributors of magazines and everything like that. They get sold at newsstands. So it was deemed not a quote unquote not a monopoly. But this is one distributor that holds Marvel, holds DC, holds Dark Horse, holds Image, all the big boys. But I mean, just having Marvel and DC, they have sole distributing rights for all Marvel and DC comics and all the Marvel and DC subsidiaries. So this one company controls it. And the problem is every week local comic shops complain because they have to do what is called go get coffee. So they have to do a pre-order system. So they have to pre-order however many books that they want on kind of guessing what the market's going to be. Now, with this pre-order system, they are expected to purchase these books outright, whether they sell them or not. And there is no buyback, there's no nothing. So they have to buy them ahead of time. So the comic shop is already out of money. Then they have to try and sell these. Now, what happens when your order's messed up? What happens when your order doesn't get there in time? So if you got a shipment that's supposed to come in and you're supposed to have 40 copies of a hot new title that's supposed to come out, but your shipment is delayed, or you get your shipment and it's the wrong pull. They send you 40 copies of the wrong title. Guess what happens? All of your customers go to another store. The customers aren't going to remain loyal. They're going to see, okay, you don't have it? Cool, I'll just go someplace else. I'll get my comic book because comic book fans don't like to be spoiled as much as movie fans don't like to be spoiled. So this all started back in the late 80s, early 90s. There were plenty of distributors and everything like that. And one of the biggest proponents, Diamond, existed back then. And let me pull up the name of it. Heroes World was another major one. And Heroes World basically took care of all of the Marvel distributing, and Diamond took care of DC. And I'm sorry if Godzilla fighting Ghidorah is a little bit too loud. My kids are watching a movie right now. So Heroes World, Marvel Comics actually bought Heroes World because they wanted to get into the distributing business. Now, this is 1994. Think about what was going on at the time with Marvel Comics. Marvel almost ended up in filing bankruptcy. This is the era where they had to sell all of the rights, the movie rights to their characters. So when they actually ended up having to possibly go bankrupt, they ended up selling all of their distributing rights of their own comic books to Diamond. And that was the nail in the coffin. So at that point, Diamond had DC and Marvel, and then any other publishing house and distributing house that was out there. Whenever they started going under, Diamond just bought them up. So they controlled everything. They still do to this day. So unless there is somebody, a distributor out there with pockets deep enough that can go against Diamond and get Marvel or DC away from Diamond, it will always be a monopoly, and it will continue killing the small comic book shop, because it happens every week where shops don't get their pulls, they don't get their orders correct, orders come in wrong. So the market is fickle. So the people that are going to buy these comics at the local comic shop will go someplace else. And if their local shop doesn't have it, they're going to go someplace else. And who do we blame for that? Do we blame the shop because they ordered properly, or does the blame go someplace else? Does it go to the distributor that really doesn't care because they already have the shop's money? So,
Yeah,
and that's the thing.
That's another one that I.
It's all Kevin Feige's fault.
I'm I'm actually glad you brought that up, because sometimes I forget about Diamond as a whole. I remember at Emerald City Comic Con, one of my shop owners was walking through. I'm like, oh, through here, and he goes, oh yeah, Diamond was hosting some kind of breakfast meeting that they wanted to have and talk to everybody, so they bought us all breakfast. I'm like, oh, that's nice. He goes, I mean, kinda. It was like one of those styrofoam to-go trays with a little bit of bacon, a little bit of eggs, and whatever, and that was it. And I'm like, okay, hold on. So they barely give you any real good meal, force you to come down here for X amount of hours to sit through a meeting, and then I'm like, that's fucked up. Like, the least they could do is, spend the money, get you guys decent food, and let you enjoy yourselves. He goes, yeah, but I mean, at least I get, a couple of hours to walk around the con. And I'm like, I was just like,
When
no.
you don't have competition, what's the purpose of trying hard?
Yeah, exactly.
And what's the purpose? So, honestly, and I've seen it, and there's plenty of Reddits on this. There's tons of information. You can just Google Diamond Comic Monopoly, and you'll just get articles going back 2 decades about how horrible it is and how comic book shops are failing because of the distributorship. But here's the thing: you can actually ultimately blame Marvel. Just for the simple fact that they overreached, they tried to do too much, they tried to start their own distribution, and tried to go against a distributor that wasn't trying to produce and distribute. He was simply a distributor. and Marvel was trying to do everything in house, and they finally ended up having to sell out. So instead of going bankrupt, they sold out.
I would like to let the listeners know some interesting facts, because in terms of this topic, to the degree of toxicity, just to let people know a fun fact about Marvel and DC Comics, because I know that there's this Marvel fanboy toxicity where they have to say Marvel's better than DC and then downplay DC and make such negative comments and blah blah. And I'm over here going, can't I just enjoy both? So Marvel now, Singledad, you can correct me on this because I'm not sure on the number. If I'm correct, I believe my research told me Marvel has gone nearly bankrupt 3 times. Is it 3 or more? I want to say 3
at least.
Yeah, 3 at the very least. DC Comics has done 1 time.
Yes.
But God, so the reason why I put this fact out there and this layer on there to let everybody know is because I have to state, I really hope that Marvel gets its shit together and figure something out. They've made some really good known characters. They've done really great jobs, had some awesome storylines, but whatever it is they're doing, if you're going near bankrupt 3 times, I gotta know what you need to do to tweak harder so that you don't have to do that ever again.
Right.
Sell out to Disney.
Well, I mean, the last time before Disney came into the picture, the last time that they sold was a toy company was the last time that it had happened. They sold merchandising rights to toys, so because toys were like, toy company was like, I would love to make profit off of your comic book characters. That would be fantastic. Which it was working to a certain extent. I mean, case in point, the whole Sony versus Marvel thing with Spider-Man. There's a degree through Marvel that gets a licensing right percentage, an astronomical number, by the way, through selling action figures. So there was a degree of fight back in terms of that whole entire thing from some people saying, no, I support Sony because Marvel's already making a fuck ton of money off of Spider-Man alone. So for them to go back to a plan that they had originally started, when they first talked to Sony, they wanted 50-50, and Sony said, go fuck yourself. And then they're like, okay, but it's really important to be on the storyline, so what if we did this deal instead? And Sony was like, okay, yeah, I could do that. And then all of a sudden it comes back around, and Marvel's like, hey, we want 50-50 again, and Sony's like, dude, no. We've already been here already. Why are you doing this again? That's the reason why Sony said no. And why... So I'm not 100% gonna go and watch this movie that has new footage in their action scenes, because the last time that it happened, it was like 4 minutes of extra footage, and I'm like, whoop-de-doo? Like, okay, whatever. But at the time, I was also like, you know what? Due to this deal and the fact that this is gonna hurt Spider-Man, I'm not supporting this anymore until shit gets handled. And then I heard a lot more information about how it went down, and I'm like, wow, yeah, I gotta admit, I sided with Sony on this one. Marvel, what the hell, dude? Like,
Angel descending. Angel descending.
Yes.
Angel
Oh, God.
descending.
Oh God.
I'm the most annoying ass angel ever. Okay. I have so much I want to say, and I cannot keep my mouth shut anymore. Okay.
Go for it.
So, do you remember?
The mustache is talking, everyone.
Yes, but the mustache angel enjoyed. Okay, so here's the thing. Do you remember a couple months ago when everyone was like, "Hey, I want to rewatch this new Marvel thing so that it can get money," knowing very much that it's to get money. And you remember when I was like, "Hey, this is a business move.
Yeah.
Like, this is not going to end well. Watch what happens. It's totally a business move. And everyone's like, hey, it's okay. I want the poster #1. Now do you see the repercussions, bitches? Like,
Yeah.
oh my God. Like, as soon as they were like, yeah, Spider-Man's going to be re-released, even without knowing all that stuff, I was like, thanks, Marvel. You fucking set it this trend. I don't, like, why? Why?
Wait.
Was it worth it? No.
So this is news to me.
Marvel didn't
Oh,
set this trend though.
No,
okay.
Spider-Man's
Avatar
getting
was
re-released.
re-released three
Yes,
times.
yes.
How many
So,
times
okay.
was Titanic
So
re-released?
Far From Home is getting a re-release, and this comes hours after we all found out that Sony said "fuck you" to Marvel, and everyone was like, "What the fuck, Sony?" And of course, like the
Yeah.
internet that we know so well, everyone without doing proper research took to it a mile a minute. Fuck you 3000 as a hashtag. Bring Spider-Man home as a hashtag.
And remember what I said when we said, hey, and everyone's throwing their fit, and I said, hey, I don't know all the details yet, so I got to give them the benefit of the doubt. Now we're seeing what happened. Everybody jumped down Sony's throat before we found all the details, and then once we started finding out the details, we're like, hey, what are you doing, Disney?
Yeah. Yep.
Disney's being Disney.
Yeah,
Disney's being
yeah.
Disney.
This is
So-
very much.
shit.
It is really, this is going to be my a partial segue into the the MCU fanboys and all the news about the new MCU movies, what was Spider-Man and whatnot. I'm really sad Jen can't be with us, because I remember, I don't know if she was joking or not, but I remember when we were talking about, I brought up that meme thing about Disney owning the world and then owning space, and Jen goes, "I'm okay with this." Well, in all seriousness, I'm not okay with this, because to credit Stan Lee's daughter, regardless of how you feel about her and all the things that may happen with her life and what had happened with her in the public light, she made one
A whole
comment,
bunch of things I don't know.
one statement that really rang true with me. Stan Lee, when he created these characters and when he was done writing for these comics, he wanted other people that saw an image and believed in the image and believed in the character and wanted to do right and wanted to give these people a chance to write these characters. With that being said, she had stated Disney and Marvel shouldn't be the only one making these storylines. We should give other people a chance. And as excited as I still am for X-Men and Fantastic Four in the MCU, let's pump the brakes and also acknowledge something. That means how many years do you have to wait for those movies to be released, as opposed to the last decade when 20th Century Fox with X-Men and Sony with Spider-Man, you were getting movies a lot more of a constant rate than just the MCU. Like, yeah, the MCU is pumping out a couple of movies a year, but they're not going to one movie a month. There's no way. So I gotta admit, yeah, I'll say it. I side with Sony, not in a hateful manner, but more of a like, wow, time to calm down and just let things be, because hell, for all we know, Sony learned a couple of things after Marvel MCU was doing their thing, and maybe we'll actually get some good Spider-Man movies out of Sony for once. Shots fired. But and again, really sad Jen's not here, because I saw it from her sharing it, the MCU toxicity on the comment section of the She-Hulk post.
Yeah.
Yes, we're talking about that because
Please elaborate.
fuck. Oh my god. So first of all,
That was adorable.
it was adorable and hilarious, but first of all, I would just like to state, with all that hate, go fuck yourselves. I don't consider Stan Lee a social justice warrior for any of the viewers that say he is, but I would say that he is a pioneer in terms of saying, you know what would not only be a good political, like, underlaying plot, but a really cool character to do, and we should open people's minds. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's do this. Let's do that. And he did that. He did that with love. So when people sit there and comment and say, you know, what the fuck was She-Hulk? And I'm like, wait, you didn't know that this character already existed in comic books? Wait, hold on, pause. And then somebody attempted to comment about the comic book's origin, but they were completely wrong, which again ties into the whole, you know, MCU fanboys not knowing their shit. Either way, I'm going to take my big green weenie into all you motherfuckers commenting on the She-Hulk post to suck a fuck, calm the fuck down, get the fuck out of here, because we don't want your toxicity.
Wait a second. I hear a calling. Is this the perfect time for...
Need healing.
Boop, boop, boop.
Medic!
Boop, boop, boop.
Someone get the 9 line.
Boop, boop, boop.
I would of course, well, he put his headphones off of his head now, but I would certainly hope that the number one person who knows a 9-line medevac would be Singledad here, because he shops from them so much.
Yeah, I totally don't remember the 9 line. Hell, I don't even remember a salute report. I probably should.
Probably should. But your Air Force...
Girl, you still in? How do you not know that? What?
I know, right?
I'm a mechanic.
So? You're Air Force. You're probably the people we fucking give the 9 line to.
You ain't giving it to me.
We don't know. You might be the closest person to comms. And then you'd be like, well, shit, I got to give this information to somebody. You don't know what's going to happen.
If he's listening to that freak as a mechanic, there's something wrong.
You know what he would do? He'd be like, boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, just...
My response would be, Mock.
his best Mercy impersonation.
Mock.
Go.
Call security forces.
He would just do his best Mercy. Is it Mercy? Yeah, Mercy impression, and say, "Heroes never die." And then you just hear gunshots on the other side of the radio, and you're like, "Oh shit, that didn't work."
So here's the dildo. I've never played Overwatch.
I thought you said
Is
dildo.
it bad that you said dildo? Did he really?
What?
So for your listeners at home that don't have video, yes, he just said, "Here's the dildo," and held up a giant dildo.
They're gonna. That's great, because now they'll go to the YouTube channel and they'll hit this video up and go, "I was lied to. This is bullshit."
Between two ferns with a dildo.
Boom! Episode title.
Just when you thought that was a mug in his hand.
Hey.
Hey, you know what?
I'm not the one that's in the Navy.
Oh.
Neither am I.
Bird.
Wait, is the once a Marine always a Marine? Does that apply to once a part of the Navy, always part of the Navy?
No.
No, that's just a thing you idiots say.
That would make you part of the Navy too.
Yeah, you are a
Technically, he's not
sub-ranch.
Bo.
There's gonna be a
Did
video.
that backfire?
Yes.
Oh no!
There's-
Did the Marine not get something through? Oh!
There's gonna be a great video we do for content wise, and I'm gonna have Mayan Goddess do something really fucking stupid, and I'm gonna look over to Singledad and go, you gonna rein her in or something? You gonna police that up? And he's gonna be like, no. I go, but she's a sub branch of you, so technically that's yours. That's your problem.
Wait,
No one
so
else
does that
is.
make you a sub?
Yes. Phrasing.
Yeah.
Books are allowed on subs now.
Yep. A sub on a
That's
sub.
not where my mind went, but okay.
Please tell us, Air Force, where did your mind go? We're on a military podcast. We have
Coffee's empty. I need to get more.
Oh man, what time?
Oh, he's
Yeah, 'cause
bailing.
that's a coffee cup. Wow, he just shoved his webbles like right into the camera.
Yeah, in the cup. Anyway, Singledad, your turn
Okay.
on the MCU fanboy toxicity.
Must I?
Yeah, just lay it into them. Take your big green weenie out, or blue, depending, because it's the Navy, and just go ahead and bend them over.
You know,
What?
I don't want to call out any particular fan base. I mean, yes, there are MCU fanboys that are toxic. Yes, there's DC fanboys that are toxic. Yeah, I mean, there's Rick and Morty fans that are toxic. I mean, there's toxic fans of
There's
everything.
comic
they're
book
drunk.
fans that are toxic.
Yes. So just focusing on one group, I don't think that's personally, I don't think that's right. It's I kind of want to take this and take it in a little bit more positive direction and say, as much as I love the comics, as much as I love the movies, I'm entertained by them. They've helped me through a lot of stuff. There are people that take them too far. Now, do I appreciate people that enjoy the comics, that are passionate about something that they love and get into it and everything? And yes, have your passion, be able to talk and discuss. But if somebody disagrees with you, understand you're allowed to disagree.
Yeah, don't crucify someone just because their opinion is different than yours.
Right. My opinion is much different than Tom Cruise's. It doesn't help that he's wrong, but I don't constantly remind him of it.
We don't all agree with Scientology, okay? Oh, you meant me. Okay.
So that's the thing is, people are allowed to be different, and that's one of the great things that makes that makes all of this so wonderful, is the fact that we can be different and we can all come together and we can all celebrate on the good things and understand that not everything's going to be great. Are there writers and are there inkers and pencilers in each of the major comic brands that I don't like? Yes, there are. I don't buy their books, even if I'm following a storyline. I'm like, okay, that's not for me. Appreciate it. Are there some styles of comic that I just can't get into? Yeah. So guess what? I don't buy them.
It's funny you mentioned that. This was another thing that had sparked my interest to talk about this topic is what's her name? Kayla Thompson, I think. Kelsey Thompson, something like that. Something Thompson. She is the person who is doing Captain Marvel comics right now. And those sales are not as great. The storyline isn't as great as when Captain Marvel first started. Because I'll tell you right now, Captain Marvel's first set of comic books, those storylines was amazing. The artwork was fantastic. She's now taking over Deadpool, and I'm a little skeptical of how that's going to go. Because
keep in mind that those are two very completely different characters.
Exactly.
So it might play better to her writings.
Right. Well, and that's another thing that another YouTuber who talks about these kind of subjects, he was talking about how he's no longer buying Deadpool now, if this is the case. I commented on him peacefully and said, I'm going to get those comics only because I want to see what's going to happen. But if I do not like it, as Singledad just said, I'm going to put it away and go, cool, I'll wait for the next person to come along, take the lead, and then see what they do with the character.
Now, but here's where the toxicity comes into play. Are you going to berate somebody else for enjoying them?
Hell no. If they want to read Deadpool, I support the living hell out of it because Deadpool is freaking awesome.
That's where the toxicity comes in, and that's where the negativity is, and that's the thing. It's like, okay, you don't like it, cool. I do. So that,
ladies and gentlemen, is a healthy dose of freedom in America right there for you. I tell you.
Boom.
J4, you wanna lay down some truth on these commenters of She-Hulk, or do you just want to sip your coffee, stare into the camera, and just shake your head?
That's it.
I'm not 100% convinced that those comments were legitimate comments, or if they were purposefully written to incite the reaction that they got, because they were way too specific to be completely inaccurate. It kind of reminded me of Into the Spider-Verse. How do you get 100% of the questions wrong on a test? You have to know 100% of the answers.
Yeah.
So if this person said in every comment that he made is 100% incorrect, he most likely knew that he was incorrect and was just doing it to incite a reaction.
He was inciting a reaction. He was just being a troll.
Just being a troll.
Trolling.
A very
So-
successful troll.
Very successful troll. He got exactly what he was desiring. People reposting it, that comment, and flipping out.
Yeah.
So
And us talking about it on a podcast.
exactly. So that's generally why with these I don't like talking about them, because most of the time it's just the things that people say. They say them just for the reaction. So why give it any breath?
I mean, look at what we're talking about now. Like, yeah, I said, to the comic guy, go fuck yourself. That's toxic bullshit. But at the same time, with everything that we're discussing now, that
is a different topic. Like if you're asking me specifically about that commenter on the She-Hulk post, that's my opinion. Now, if we're talking about somebody that's being your scenario with the Deadpool, the new Deadpool writer, that's a completely different topic.
No, so okay, what I'm saying is that look at it in a better positive spin. All three of us have at least said. I missed it. Okay, he was taking a photo, and I tried to pose for him.
Yep. Nope. I got it.
The truth of it is, the way I see it is, to a degree, we're giving him some fire, but we're giving him not the fire he wants, because we're simply stating, let's be positive, not let's lay into this guy. Granted, yeah, I laid into him a little bit.
Airtime is airtime.
Yeah.
Attention's attention. These people don't care if they're getting negative or positive attention. They just want attention. So the fact that we're continuing to talk about this.
Works for the KKK.
Boop, boop, boop. Man. Descending.
Go ahead.
Okay. So here's the thing. I do agree with J4 like 100% on this. Yeah, if it is a troll, then yeah, the attention that we're giving is what is it's considered a success in their books. That being said, the overall issue is still there.
Are you talking the blatantly
just that
sexist
toxicity
and douchebaggy remarks?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Because that's more what I got out of it than toxicity. Those were just blatantly sexist and oh god,
Misogynistic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Only
like,
to the point of playing the victim.
Yeah, like if the person who started was a troll, the comments that ensued were not.
Yes.
That's fair.
That's all I have to say. Boop, boop, boop.
I mean, hell, to our credit, I'm hoping that we get a lot of clicks because we're talking about this. Just say.
Boop, boop, boop. Boop, 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 boop.
But
Oh.
can we do this from now on? No, I'm just kidding.
Just shove me in the corner. I see how it is.
Well, I mean, you are a Marine.
Like purple. Don't mind me. I'll be
Nobody
in my
puts
corner.
mine in a corner.
Nom, nom.
Except for mine, apparently.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she did it to herself.
I mean, there were crayons down here. How could you say no?
Phrasing?
That one doesn't work.
You don't know
That's
that.
for me. Nom, nom, nom. Boop, boop, boop.
Taking it back to comics though, because it's probably just going to be an hour-long episode considering the topic at hand.
Yeah.
I would just like to put out a piece of advice to everyone out there. One piece of advice, if there's a comic shop that decides to listen to this podcast, or any listeners out there that want to give this piece of advice to comic shops, I would recommend doing what my main comic shop that I've been shopping at for the last 3 years does. They have me on file, so if I've got a month without buying comics, they give me a call. And they say, hey, you've got comics, we need you to pick them up. And I tell them, okay, I get paid on this date, I'll come in and get them. Thankfully, it's only ever been just a month because, again, I don't want to be not only that comic shop, but that potential person who goes in to buy comics and their pull box is over $800 worth of comics. Holy shit. That would fuck me. That would fuck the comic shop. That's just so not cool. And then, of course, to plug another comic shop while at the same time as System, pullbox.com is really awesome. The biggest thing that I love about the website is that you ever sit there, look at the catalog, or you're just looking around, you're browsing, and you go, man, I wish there was a way where I can just hit a search button and find the comics that I want to see. Oh, well, Pullbox Comics does that. Pullbox.com. You can look up, just type in the character's name, and then it brings up all of the issues that are coming out, and then some of the ones that are in the past. You can also look up previous issues, and your comic shop, if they're using the website, can backlog them and put them in your box so that you can get them. No, hold on. The website's actually called previewsworld.com. It's fucking awesome. I can't wait for some of the comic books that I'm in line to purchase, by the way. Previewsworld.com.
Can't see it. Okay, now I can.
Your
Charge your
old
battery.
eyes do not deceive you. You charge your
No.
battery.
Your focus was.
I shouldn't say anything. Mine's 3% less than yours. But hey.
Any hooser. So yeah, support your local comic shops. Support comic
Definitely.
books.
I'm gonna throw something on here.
Go for it. Go for it.
So if anybody that goes to any conventions and everything like that, if you go to Artist Alley and you see these individuals that are, they're self-publishing their comics, and they're trying to sell them on their own and everything like that, support them. Take a look at their art, support them, because here's the deal. These are people that are putting their heart and soul into their work, but they cannot get picked up by a distributor because there's rules that the distributors have to follow, and that they have to have X number of comics sold. I don't know what the magic number is, 5,000, 10,000, 20,000 for a run to be able to keep selling. So obviously the big names, Deadpool, Captain America, Batman, you name it, the Superman, Wonder Woman, these names are always going to get picked up. So they're going to continue churning those out. But these small independent comics, and like the lesser known titles and everything like that, unless they are like picked up and they don't get promoted. They have to do all their own promotion. So they may get one run in a comic shop, and that's it. If people don't buy their book in the comic shop, they're dead. That they'll never see a distribution again. So they're trying to get money so that way they can keep eating, or they can feed their kids or feed their families. So yes, support local artists, support local comic shops. That's the best way to actually combat the monopoly that's going on right now.
Seriously, I concur.
I actually did that when I was at Emerald City Comic Con this last year.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that my wife and I love about, we don't do the celebrity thing. That's just not our thing.
Yeah.
And when you go to the main comic floor, where all the where you have your DC Image and Marvel booths all over the place,
Boobs too.
and then the Funko Pops fucking everywhere like herpes.
Let me take
I
it.
collect
you
herpes.
don't- I was gonna say
I
you
mean,
don't like
if
Funko?
there's nothing wrong with people wanting to collect those things. I trip over them. They're fucking everywhere at Comic-Con.
Sounds like you have
but
a treble problem with Funko Pops.
What's that?
A treble problem with
Boop,
Funko.
boop, boop.
Treble? She's not
Triple.
playing the instrument. She's not playing the
Triple.
instrument right now.
Triple.
Triple.
Like Star
Not
Trek.
treble.
I pronounce it
I-
differently, but I know what you're talking about.
I'm
Oh.
apparently too nerdy. Sorry.
What?
Tomato,
I got you.
tomato.
I will go fuck myself. Boop, boop,
The
boop.
little furry balls from Star Trek, the original series?
Yeah.
Nothing? Really?
Never
Oh, man.
watched the
Wait.
original-
J4, have you never been to Mopop?
No.
Really? Okay, well, when you get back, we'll have to go through Mopop. They have the little guys in Picard, not Picard, sorry, Kirk's chair. They're all over the floor. They're just these little fur balls, and they multiply like crazy. They had an entire episode where
Oh, Mopop.
Mopop, yes.
For some, you said Mopop, and my brain said Funko. Because Funko Pop.
Tomato, tomato.
But-
It's okay.
I was obsessed with Funko
You
Pops.
hold
my
on to
wife-
that.
Right?
You hold on to that dildo. We'll be fine.
But no, I went to Funko or
Mopop. In
Mopop
Seattle.
back in when I was home on leave.
Did you go to the
And
sci-fi exhibit?
we did. I
There
don't
was-
remember seeing Star Trek stuff.
Oh, they might have taken it out by then. They decided to sell it off so it would go to a different museum. But yeah, they had Kirk's
My wife and I
chair.
actually spent more time in the fantasy one.
Well, that one's a good ROM too. But yeah, no, they're these little fur balls. It's just little fur
Okay.
balls. They don't have a face or anything.
But anyway, yeah, I don't, because I mean, I don't go to the bigger comic books because they're already gonna get the money, and like I kind of have an idea of what they're gonna have. They're not more than likely not gonna surprise me. And then there's so many fucking people on the main show floor. So my wife and I generally just go to the artist alley and walk around there to see, just because generally you're gonna see a lot of this, the independent artists that do fan stuff of the same genre characters.
Sure.
You're gonna get your Marvel, your DC, your Goku, and Vegeta.
It's called
And
Dragon
then-
Ball.
Thank you. And lately Voltron. Voltron's had a comeback. But generally I like to see like the random ass shit that's there. And then this last one, we found this one dude. He had this comic run. I think it was called the Sentinels or something like that.
I've
Or
heard of that,
Guardians.
yeah.
And it was visually appealing. I haven't had a chance to read it because I left right afterwards and I forgot to put it in my bag. I thought I had it, but I didn't. So it's waiting for me when I get home.
Nice.
And so I'm looking through this, and the guy's talking to me and stuff like that, and he's like, "Yeah, this is like the last few I got. I'm working on another project now," and he was actually trying to get me like look at a newer project, but I'm like, "This is fucking cool," and I'm like, "How much for this one?" And he's like, "Well, it's the only one the only one in the color that I got right now, and it's already signed." He's like, "I'll give it to you for the regular unsigned price." I was like, "Okay."
Yeah, I know,
It
right?
was like $25, and it's not when I'm getting I don't necessarily like the single issues. I don't feel like I get enough bang for my buck with a single issue comic.
So you like trades?
I
And like,
prefer the
yeah.
trade paperbacks.
Yeah.
When I get a volume, I feel a little bit better about spending $16 to $20 on one of those,
True.
and I'll actually spend a little bit of time reading it,
Yeah.
and enjoying it. My kids love them too.
Yeah, to that credit, there's one Jamie T something. He's doing the White Widow franchise. He's been doing it through Patreon, actually. It's how he funds his, and anybody who's a patron gets a exclusive first issue print. Ruby Echo got to meet him at Emerald City Comic Con this year, and when we swung back around, he gave her a $100 metal cover of the book for free. It's for free. And she's like, wait, what, really? And he goes, yeah, I mean, technically, you're out here promoting me. I'm thanking you, if anything, because I'm not with a major comic corporation. I'm doing this on my own.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that I absolutely love. I like collecting the single issues depending on the comic themselves for the sole intent of collecting, because I think it's fascinating to hear people when they say, oh yeah, I've got like 5,000 comics, and when you look through the 5,000 comics, you find comics that were made before you were even born. Yes. Comics when your dad was a kid, these kinds of comics, and it's just to see this history and to see the rich artistry is just so, and sometimes the goofy artistry is just so awesome to have. And then it's very appealing when you get it graded and the value of the comic book goes through the fucking roof. It's a 9.8. This is Cable's first initial run outside of the X-Force. It's a 9.8. And it's not the only comic I own that's graded. I love doing this. Unfortunately, it is rather expensive to get comics graded. If it wasn't expensive, I would take every single issue of the origin stories to the Dark Knight Metal series and get them all graded and secured, because I have to admit, the other thing that's cool about graded comics, those cases are nigh on indestructible. And I love it. I'm like, cool, now I don't have to worry about any tears, rings, or anything happening to this comic book because it's secure. So, anyway, that has been a very exciting, hard-pressed, lots of topics in terms of comics and toxic fanboys to this episode. Catch us next week. Yep. And
I'm fangirls. I'm not gonna.
Fangirls.
We are equal opportunity here.
True story. There's some fucked up women out there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Mayan.
Sorry. Boop boop
boop. Catch us next week. We're gonna tackle into video games again. Fuck me. Anyway.
Thanks.
That's your girl's job, not mine.
Oh, we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks.
I thought he said we were equal opportunity.
Yeah. God. Don't kink shame me. This is where you say kink shaming is my kink shame.
That's just kink shame right there.
Right?
Hey.
I am your host, Tom Cruise Cosplay. With me tonight has been my lovely bearded brother, Singledad.
What up?
The surprising baby face of J4 Props.
Toodles.
And the angel in our corner, Mayan Goddess.
Boop, boop, boop.
Did we have any comments? Did anybody say anything?
We did. So, Al Smoke says hi, everyone.
Hi.
We had Last Element, who was shocked that people did. Mm-hmm.
Shocked at what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People.
It was so shocking that her mic went out.
Oh. Yep. He was shocked, and he wanted to share some Tribble love.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
I'm gonna laugh if that
Star
person
Trek was
said
just
hello.
never my thing.
I'm gonna laugh if that person who said hello said it an hour ago. They're gone now.
You did.
Yeah? Okay. Well, thank you all for tuning in. Catch us next week. It's gonna be exciting stuff. And then the week after that, there will be no episode because I'm taking a trip to California. But I will be dropping my very first YouTube video on both the Geek Boots video YouTube channel and my own YouTube channel. Basically what I did, so if anyone's curious, I re-listened to our very first episode and took all of the things that make us cringe and turned it into a video. So
God.
be prepared. It's gonna be hilarious. Don't worry, it's gonna be great.
Boo, boo, boo.
Anyway, thank you all for listening. Bye.
Deuces.
Motherfucker!